Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa, and we're starting today with the preparation of public transport for winter operation. And at the beginning, I would like to remind that our audience can ask questions online in Telegram, WhatsApp, Viber. You just need to scan the QR code that you can now see on your screens. So please join our briefing. Our speakers are Oleksandr Gaiduk, Director of the Department of Maritime Complex Transport Infrastructure and Communication of Odesa Regional State Administration, and Vitaliy Snigur, the Inspector of the Traffic Safety Department. Thank you for joining us today, and I would like to ask from Oleksandr, I know that you have prepared a small report. Good afternoon. My name is Gaiduk Oleksandr, the Director of the Communication and Transport Department of the Odesa Regional Administration, and I would like to report about our activities. Our department pays special attention to the transportation of the passengers in the Odesa region, especially in the winter period. And traditionally, at the beginning of autumn, we issue an order to ensure sustainable operations of the transport during winter, and we also communicate this with the owners of cars. And with this order, we have ordered the carriers to ensure winterization of the transport and paying special attention to heaters and wheels, and also to have additional training for their employees. To provide instructions to the employees and drivers in terms of their limitations in roads because of the weather condition, to ensure additional volumes of fuels and lubricants for transport vehicles for the emergency, and also identify and appoint responsible persons for all these issues. For the owners of car stations, it has been ordered to instruct their employees to define responsible persons and also to organize the shifts of staffs in case of heavy snowfalls. To ensure sustainable operations of transport in case of emergency, our department organized the direct connection with the managers of the carriers' enterprises, and also organized emergency informing of the mentioned persons about emergency situation. We also mobilize all which is necessary to deal with the consequences of the emergencies. In case there is information about limitations on the roads, this information will be reported to the owners of the transportation enterprises. Traffic will be renewed by these companies only by permission of the relevant service. And additionally, we inspect the mentioned companies to certify their readiness for harsh winter conditions. On the 26th of October 2023, under the management of the Deputy Head of the Odesa Regional Administration, Mr. Kropeva, we had the widened meeting with the representatives of police service of the police and in the Odesa region to discuss the readiness of carriers for winter 2023-2024. With the identified events, we have discussed the most important issues for the transportation of passengers, and the companies proved that they are ready for the transportation during winter. And the relevant bodies proved they will be able to perform control when it is needed. We are fully ready for the transportation of passengers by road transport during winter, and together with the police and Ukrtransbezpeka, we are able to perform control over the bus network. And now I would like to give floor to my colleague, Vitaliy. The floor is yours. Good afternoon to everyone. Under the management, the petrol police is responsible for control over passenger carriers and also the checks of technical conditions and other safety and security matters of the transportation. And for the 10-month, we have prepared statistics, and we can compare it with the similar period of the last year. And we see, unfortunately, increased number of cases of accidents. This is 37 accidents against 26 last year. As for the lethal cases, 1 case, and as for the injured, 61 against 51 last year. To improve the situation with the road transport, the Directorate of the Petrol Police in the Odesa region takes measures to ensure control over the vehicles, and also we control the examination of the drivers, and also we make sure that they work in shift. Around 500 protocols have been drafted for administrative violations, including 25 for the violation of the entrepreneurship activity, 136 is for the irrelevant condition of the transport. As for the technical condition, and there also were such cases, 260 cents for the violation of the rules for passenger carrying, 16, and also the violation of regime. And also there were the cases of carriage, or keeping of the transport, etc. We also work with the educational institutions to agree the routes for the transportation of school children, excursions, and also the organization of the convoys of buses, etc. We also constantly control over the scheduled buses in the city of Odesa, where there are bad roads. That's it. Do we have any questions? Yes, the floor is yours. Do you have any procedure in case of air raid alerts? For example, if buses are in rural areas or near the fields, what should they do? Thank you very much for the questions. There is no specific procedure for that, but the drivers should get passengers to the closest, safest place. But the vehicle network is rather expanded in Odesa Oblast, and there can be different cases, as you've mentioned, rural areas or traffic jams, and the drivers should bring passengers to the nearest shelter, temporary or fixed, depending on where they are caught by an air raid alert. So they should bring passengers to the safe place, or they may do this. It depends on the situation, but this doesn't work in practice. If it's on a motorway somewhere in the field, they just continue going. That's how it works in practice. I have one more question. Do you monitor the passenger flow? If yes, have you seen any changes? Do people drive from Odesa, go from Odesa, or come to Odesa? Yes, we have such information. In our region, the situation is difficult, but it's not that severe. and people come to us from Mykolaiv and Kherson oblasts. But at the factor, we can see the decrease of passenger flow by around 40%. And perhaps these numbers are even bigger. Do you have information about inflow of outflow of people, or do they migrate? You understand that the war is a period where it is very difficult to plan anything. We cannot provide clear numbers. It depends on the situation. And for example, last year, when the Odesa Oblast was heavily shelled, people started leaving this area. But now the situation has improved a bit, and now people are returning. And that's why I can say that on average, we see a decrease in the passenger flow by 40%. So this is more or less like clear number. And can I ask more questions? About winter tires, do all buses have winter tires? And do the police monitor somehow the situation when it comes to passenger traffic? And is this question to me or to the representative of the police? We just coordinate this issue, so I will start. As for winterization, so it starts well before the winter. And we are talking about the preventive measures. This includes winter tires, fuels, and these checks and inspections are ongoing. As for protectors' condition, and of course, we monitor the technical condition. And perhaps you know that the traffic rules do not envisage any sanctions against drivers if they fail to change their tires for winter period. The condition of protectors is checked, and also the usage of winter tires. But in our traffic rules, there is no such notion as the winter tires. But we ensure that they use tires which should be used and which are recommended to be used for a winter period. Vitaliy has mentioned the violation of the regime of shifts of drivers. What regime is there? How much time can a driver operate a vehicle? Ukrtransbezpeka is responsible for this issue, but if it's longer than 500 kilometers, then a bus should have 2 drivers. So that's why when during checking of such bus en route more than 500 kilometers, we carry out inspections. But this is more about the interregional connection. And as for Odesa region, we don't have such long distances, like 500 kilometers. But what are the shifts? In 2 hours, they should have a 15-minute break every 2 hours, and the general operation hours are 8 hours. When you say that it should be per week or during the day, no, this is with shifts. The shifts, the buses don't work every day. And unfortunately, we don't have our colleague from Ukrtransbezpeka with us. And they use the special tool, tachograph, just to check how much time drivers operate a vehicle. That's what they check together with the police. And they don't use this tool of control. This is the most widespread violation. But other violations are not systematic. What about city buses? Do they need to have such tools? No. It's for the buses going for more than 50 kilometers. You have mentioned that there is an increased number of accidents. And what is the reason for that? And of course, this is the violation of speed limit. But we mainly see this at crossroads, the problems with the distances, intervals, and you know that Odesa Rini is heavily loaded with cars now, and it is very difficult to operate for bus drivers, car drivers. There is a huge tension for drivers. That's why we can see increased number of accidents there. We control this. We take preventive measures and proactive measures, and together with Uktrtransbezpeka, we have planned joint raids for the inspecting for November, December. So we do everything which is possible within our mandate. I have one more question. A lot of men have been mobilized. Do you see an increased number of female drivers for buses? To be true, I have not seen them. I know that there are female taxi drivers. Yes, I've met her once. But to say the truth, I have not seen female drivers of municipal buses. And even during the meeting with the carriers, the carriers, they complained that there is demand for drivers now. But we cannot just leave out limitations in terms of operational hours. But they say that they already feel the demand for drivers. And the question for Oleksandr: have you terminated contracts with some of the carriers because of the failure to follow the rules and procedures? Yes, last week there was the bus 540 Khlebadarska-Odesa, and we terminated the contracts with them because of the violations and the lack of vehicles on the route. And I have the question from online from Telegram. Do you know about the difficult situation with the buses between Odessa and Yuzhny? The buses are packed, and the tickets are expensive. Yes, we have received complaints about that route 68, and there is the order of the administration is that Odessa District Military Administration is responsible for that route. We are now going to organize competition for that route, and the situation will be improved. So we have been controlling that situation. So we will explain this to the Commission competition, the heads of companies, and all complaints will be taken into consideration. We have also a question to Vitaliy. In Odessa, we have daredevils who like to drive really fast, and we can see the sounds during air raid alerts in Shevchenko Avenue and at the fifth station of Bolshoi Fontan. Why are there no traffic police there? I know they cover the whole city, but they can just have some fixed place. If they can see the violation, they just stop the car. But no, we need to conduct expertise. That's why we can't check such cars on the spot, because these are not the cars which are produced by the manufacturers. These are modified cars. How many protocols have been drafted for such cars? I'm not prepared to provide this information, but if it is needed, we can prepare the statistics, because the problem is still there. Yes, I'm well aware of that. I can also hear these sounds. So we do everything possible. We take measures, and perhaps we will discuss this with all local authorities to better organize the traffic at these hot spots to stop such cars. And here I would like to address to the drivers, because we understand the condition of people during air raid alerts, and we have a lot of veterans, and this is just disrespect for these people to make such noises. I have a question to Alexander. During rainfalls, heavy snowfalls, we can see transport collapse both in the city and in the region. Have you developed a program to prevent such situations in the future? Yes, of course. And I would like to say that this is not only our problem in Odessa or even in Ukraine because of the weather conditions, including heavy snowfalls. And if you can see, and if you watch news, you can see that this is even the problem in the New York City. And I just try to explain that this is not only our problem. For the last decade, we haven't had such situations when the transport was stuck anywhere for more than 5-6 hours. The latest situation was in 2013 when a bus was stuck near Zatoka, and not all services were fully ready to these operations, and people spent more than 10 hours in a bus with children. After that, we learned our lesson, and we can say that for the last over the last years, over the last winters, we haven't seen such situations. And we have the recovery service in the Odessa Oblast, and they have the whole call center and the whole headquarters with contact details, and people can always address them, and they will be redirected, for example, to the state emergency service to deal with such cases as soon as possible. Last year, the passenger boat was launched between Ovidiopol and Belgorod-Dnistrovsky. As far as I understand, it can operate only during summer, yes. For example, at the moment, it is out of the operation, so it can work till October. But we can see that such route, such boat is needed. And over summer period, it's transported more than 11,000 passengers, and that was a pilot project that we launched last year. An enterprise took responsibility for them. This is more the project of a social nature because they don't earn much, but passengers are satisfied and we're also satisfied. This is quite an interesting case because we used to have such a boat, such a route like 30 years ago, but I don't think that the carrier does not earn anything. I think the ticket cost for 100 hryvnias, but actually it was a problem for us to find a carrier. It took us 2 months to find a carrier, and we had to persuade this Nibelung company who actually ensured such transportation in Kherson, and they have the fleet of boats needed for such passenger traffic, and they were ready to relocate their fleet to our region, and it was quite challenging to deliver everything by roads, and for them this is a social project, and if you calculate, I don't think that they earn much. And can you ensure such passenger carriages over Liman throughout the year? No, because of the depths of the Liman, of the estuary. And along the birth line, Nibelung company had they had these drainage operations because last year it was difficult for them because of the mold there. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we will continue at 1 p.m.